Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Sabbath class, the 12th of August, 2023. The topic for discussion is Abraham. We're going to uncover some more revelations about the life of Abraham. So Abraham Revisited. Okay, I want to let you know that you can go to our YouTube channel, Prophets of Awakening. Check out our videos that we have. I think it's like 700. And the videos will connect dots for you and bring you to the truth of the Holy Scriptures. If you like what you're hearing and receiving on the channel, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And for those that want to support the channel or feel a need to, you can check out our Cash App that's running across the bottom of the screen on the videos. So with that being said, I wanted to say this is a non-Messianic channel. And by that, I mean the Tanakh and the Torah is what we deal with. We don't subscribe to the New Testament. And the Tanakh is the Old Testament, so-called book of remembrance. And the Torah, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, books of the law that was given to Moses by the Lord of hosts. Shalom and welcome. Welcome to our Sabbath class. We're going to do our moment of silence. We're going to do a Sabbath prayer, read the Psalms, do a little current events, and some need-to-know information. And we open it up for some questions or comments. And then we go into our discussion, which is Abraham Revisited. So with that being said, this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongs unto thee, but unto us, and therefore righteousness, therefore we come before thee at this hour, seeking our faith, looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before thee, as thy servants David and Solomon, and Samuel and Hezekiah did, that we may walk before thee in truth, and in righteousness, and in rightness of heart. Give unto us, O Lord, an understanding heart, that we may discern between good and bad, for we know you possess the power to turn us, O Lord. We desire to walk after thee, O Lord, and keep your commandments, your testimony, your statutes with all our heart and soul, and to perform the words of the covenant that was written down by your prophets. O Lord, allow thy face to shine upon thy people. Hear our plea, hear and do, O Lord. Hide not thy face from us any longer, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay, so with that being said, I want to read the Psalms, and then we'll go into the current events. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna read Psalm 63. It's God satisfies the thirsting of the soul. Okay, so it's Psalm of David. O God, thou art my God. Early will I seek thee. My soul thirsted for thee. My flesh longing for thee in a dry and thirsty land where no water is, to see thy power and thy glory, so as I have seen thee in the sanctuary, because thy loving kindness is better than life. My lips shall praise thee. Thus will I bless thee while I live. I will lift up my hands in thy name. My soul shall be satisfied as with marrow and with fatness, and my mouth shall praise thee with joyful lips. When I remember thee upon my bed and meditate on thee in the night watches, because thou hast been my help. Therefore, in the shadow of thy wings will I rejoice. My soul followeth hard after thee. Thy right hand upholdeth me. But those that seek my soul to destroy it shall go into the lower parts of the earth. They shall fall by the sword. They shall be a portion for foxes. But the king shall rejoice in the God. Everyone that swear by him shall glory. But the mouth of them that speak lies shall be stopped. Okay, so that was Psalms 63, and it's a Psalm of David. Okay, that's when he was out in the wilderness of Judah when Saul was after. Okay, so I wanted to shine a light on the fact that I'm keep saying over and over again, these men like David and the priests and the seers and the Levites, they actually dealing with him. They see him, they conversing with him and all that. We see that all through Tanakh. So he says in verses 1 and 2, O God, thou art my God, early will I seek thee. My soul thirsted for thee, my flesh longing for thee in the dry and thirsty land where there is no water. So that's like out in the wilderness. That's where he was at when he wrote this. Then verse 2 says, to see thy power and thy glory, so as I have seen thee in the sanctuary. So like I was saying, when he was saying, he keeps saying that I'm gonna praise thee and I'm gonna worship thee in the sanctuary. You see him, like he just said. I said, I'm out here in the wilderness right now, but I'm longing, my soul is thirsting for thee to see thee again in the sanctuary. Like I said, we saw that example. That was when he told Moses, the Lord of hosts told Moses to go down to the rock. And when you get there, I'll be there standing on the rock. So Moses see him, but the people that's down the congregation, they don't see him, but Moses see him. And for that reason was the reason Moses wasn't able to go into the promised land, because all they see is everything he doing. So it's looking like Moses is God, because he struck the rock. All they see is Moses. The water came out, they glorified Moses getting edified, not the Lord of hosts. Okay, so with that being said, anybody have any comments? Okay, we're gonna go to some current events. We just got a couple because I got a lot of reading to do and a lot of revelations on this Abraham story. It started when I went to the other night when we was talking about Abraham was praying about trying to get a burial site for Sarah when he went to the Hittites and the children of Heth and he bowed down to him and said that he's a stranger in the land. So I looked at that and I saw, well, in Genesis 15, the Most High gave Abraham the land. So why would he say he's a stranger? But we're going to get into that. I'm going to break that down. That's what brought me to this lesson today. Okay, so here we go.
And now let's turn our attention to the West African nation of Niger. A different type of storm has hit this country, one that could turn it into a battlefield between Russia and the West. I'll explain why in a moment, but first a quick primer. Meet the president of Niger. His name is Mohamed Bazoum. Last week, his presidential guard put him under arrest. Then the military declared they are in charge. Basically, it was a coup. The fourth since the country's independence some 6 decades ago. We covered this last week. But over the past few days, there have been new developments. Other countries have entered the picture. West African nations have issued an ultimatum. They say the president, Bazoum, should be reinstated in 15 days, else they will intervene militarily. The country of Chad is a neighbor of Niger. Their president is visiting. He's talking to the military leaders who pulled off the coup. Meanwhile, the French embassy in Niger has also come under attack. Supporters of the coup threw stones at the embassy. They even tried to start a fire outside the compound and burned the French flag outside the building. What explains this protest? Well, Niger was once a French colony. French forces are still deployed in the country. The protesters want them to leave. They blame France for their problems, for the state of insecurity in Niger, and for the rampant militancy in West Africa. And amid all of this, something very interesting was observed. Look at this fact. Supporters of the coup were seen carrying Russian flags. You saw the flags, they're very similar to the French flag, the same colors, but the Russian flag has the color blue in the middle. Now, the coup supporters raised the Russian flag outside the French embassy in Niger, and some were even seen chanting, Russia and long live Putin.
We are not against young people raising the Russian flag. It's because they've seen how certain countries in the region are cooperating with Russia, thinking that there's equal treatment. And that's why they brought out these flags.
So is Russia supporting the coup in Niger? Is it in lockstep with the country's military? If not the Kremlin directly, what about the Wagner mercenary group? Are they supporting these generals in Niger? So far, they have mixed signals. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has issued a statement. He has called for a return to constitutional order in Niger. Earlier today, the Kremlin called for restraint from all sides. Russian President Putin said Russia is against coups. This was yesterday during Russia's Africa summit, but Putin was quick to conflate the situation in Niger with what was happening in Ukraine.
You said, dear colleagues, that we are against coup d'etat. I am in full agreement. We too are against coups d'etat. But the other problem that led to today's crisis is the coup d'etat in Ukraine in 2014. That specifically was an unconstitutional, armed, and bloody state coup, which the Western countries actively supported.
It almost sounds like a justification, and Moscow's plea for calm may in fact give time for the military rulers to chalk out their next move. Then there's the Wagner Group. Their chief, Yevgeny Prigozhin, has supported this coup in Niger. An audio message was released on a social account linked to Wagner. And here Prigozhin called the coup a good thing. He even offered the support of Wagner troops. He said his troops could restore order in the country. Now, it's unclear how closely Wagner forces and Russia are aligned in this. So far, there is no evidence of Wagner troops working in Niger. This is what the US said on Thursday.
To your question about Russia, Putin, I know there's been question about Wagner Group as well. Until now, we have not seen incredible indications of Russian or Wagner involvement.
But Wagner.
Okay, so that was 11 days ago. So let's look at what's going on today. Let me get it. Okay. Okay. Can you see that?
No, sir.
Let me try to get. I don't know what's going on. Let me. Okay. Okay, let me play. I'll play this. I can't bring it up.
The Nigerian military is not backing
I
down. In
wanted to
fact,
show
it
you the
seems like
crowds.
they've become emboldened. Look at the
The
massive
crowd
crowd
got
that trooped
enlarged.
out to show them their support. And basking on this massive support, they've gone on to close their airspace. The implication of the closure of this airspace will hurt Nigeria's economy more than it will hurt Niger. Although they said they closed the airspace in order to avert an airborne invasion, but the economic implications on Nigeria's economy will be enormous. Look at this cargo plane from Turkey to Lagos. You can see where it's headed, unless they are going to another West African country before going to Lagos. If not, they are already avoiding the Nigerian airspace. And that will definitely cost more aviation fuel, more time, and more money for the end users. Yes, it poses all sorts of problems for flights leaving Nigeria to Europe. They will first of all fly westward before flying northward to continue their journey. Also, Niger might not have the capacity to police their airspace. Niger is a very large country. Do they have complete radar coverage of their country? Even Nigeria achieved total coverage not long ago. Let's even assume that they have total coverage of the western part of their country where their capital is. Do they have working fighter jets that can chase the intruding aircraft?
Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes, sir. We can see it.
Yes, sir.
That's the crowds right there. They're packed in. That's in Nigeria. Nigeria. That's how many people supporting the coup.
Well, that's the question. But Niger used to have Su-25s. No one knows whether they are working or they are still flying. But whether they can police the airspace or not, no commercial airliner will take the risk because of insurance. If someone closes his airspace, you have to respect it. Libya also is closed because there has been crisis there for a few years now. So that leaves Algeria as the only option for anyone going to Europe from Nigeria. And imagine what will happen if this problem escalates quickly. What if Mali and Burkina Faso joins Niger in closing down their airspace? Imagine the distance an airliner will have to fly westward in order to avoid these countries before continuing their journey. That will definitely double the price of the tickets, and the passengers will bear the brunt. This means that we sanctioned ourselves instead of Niger. Yes, the economic sanctions from ECOWAS to Niger was too hasty. Is it a retaliation from Niger? They've been under sanctions for the past 1 week. In fact, they were also threatened with an invasion if they do not step down or return the deposed president. Well, call it whatever you want, but that's their own leverage. That's why it's never advisable to show your teeth very early in the game. ECOWAS started out by threatening Niger with an invasion. How can they do that? They didn't think it through. Now that their 1 week ultimatum has expired, they are now saying that they prefer to use diplomacy to engage the Nigerians. Of course, this should have come first instead of threats of an invasion. That was why they humiliated the envoy that came to meet them. They couldn't.
So like what happening is, they try to put sanctions on and control Nigeria, but now it's affecting Nigeria. And like I was saying last night, they pretty much at the end phase of building that Echo Atlantic City, which is going to be the new financial capital of the world in Nigeria, which is tied to, like I said, they got a whole other shipping system with that Road and Belt Initiative. They moving everything over there, right where that's these illuminized bankers. They've been spending millions and billions of dollars over the last, ever since they came into Africa, getting all the minerals, the gold, the silver, and all the raw materials out of there, shipping it out. But now they didn't they didn't came to the realization over years they're just going to centralize everything right there. They ain't got to. They're going to save billions of dollars from shipping it because they're going to be right there. Everything going to be right there. That's the whole purpose of this whole new. They're talking about reset and all that. It's all about that. It's all tied. It's all around Africa, tied to Africa. That's where all the resources on the planet is at. The little bit that these other continents had, they didn't consume it. So it's all about even water. It's all right there on that continent. That's what we see them setting up, trying to set up. But in the process of doing it, like I said, they playing right along with the Most High's prophecies that he got prophesied to deliver his people in the last days. So in the process of them doing this, these people being delivered. So one of the things I was looking at before I move on to something else was it's kind of it's crazy, but it's something simple. But you got the word Niger, which is Niger. Then you got Nigeria. It's Niger. It just got an IA on the end of it. So the same people, but these folks and pitted them against each other. Okay. So with that being said, anybody have a comment or anything? Okay, we're gonna open it up for some Q&A, questions and comments. Anybody have anything they want to talk about from last night or during the week?
Shalom. I just want to say from last night when we were talking about how now Russia is having their flag over there and they're flying that Russian flag. So are they being a part, just welcoming in Putin? It's the question.
Oh yeah. They decided all the countries over there siding with Russia. That's this whole thing is America trying to combat, trying to cut off what they see happening, what they see happening over there, because Russia is it's a race to control the remaining resources that's in Africa, and they see that the influence that Russia then came in and took over, and
yes,
like I
sir.
said, next week is this BRICS conference.
Yes, sir. So with China, also, we're buying up all the ports and stuff. So is Russia and China in agreement to take over, try to take over the resources?
Oh yeah, they took it over. They're taking over. It's just a matter of like I said, they at the point to put the last nail in the coffin. That's what, and this was the NATO and especially the U.S. trying to cut off. That when they had this summit, it's already been proclaimed that they coming out with a new BRICS currency, and it was brought up last night that this currency, when this currency come out, being that it's backed by gold, it's going to be $55 American dollars to one BRICS currency. So that's going to be detrimental to the West and everybody else. So that's what this all about. They're trying to usurp that. You cut it off.
Yes, sir.
Right. And that's what that's all about. And like I said, it's been already prophesied. If you haven't read it before, you can go to Second Ezra and read the vision that the Lord of Hosts gave Ezra. He explained the fourth beast in greater detail than what he explained to Daniel in the book of Daniel. He went more in depth with it.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Right. So yeah. Anybody else got anything? Okay, yeah. So like I said, I'll be doing a lot of reading and because I want it's a lot of stuff, a lot of over the last couple of days, a lot of revelations I got from dealing with searching out this the reason why Abraham said he was a stranger. Let me read that first. We're going to it. Yeah, it's it's mind-boggling to me. So anyway, we're going to Genesis chapter 23, I think it is, in the death and burial of Sarah. We was reading it the other day. So it says uh, Sarah had died, right, and Abraham wanted to get a place for to bury his dead. So pick it up in verse. I start at verse 1. Sarah was 107 years, 7 and 20 years old. These were the years of the life of Sarah. Sarah died in Kara Arba. The same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spoke unto the sons of Heth, saying, and this is the part right here, which triggered everything. Verse 4, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me possession of a burial place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, Hear us, my Lord, thou art mighty prince among us in the choice of a sepulchre. Bury thy dead. None of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre, but that thou mayest bury thy dead. And Abraham stood up, bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth. And then he commune with them, saying, If it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me and entreat for me to Ephraim, the son of Zohar, that he may give me the cave of Mizpah, which is at the end of his field. For as much money as it is worth, he shall give it me for possession, for a burial place among you. Okay, so let me get it. So Abraham, we saw where Abraham bowed down to them and said that he was a stranger in the land, right? So let's look at that. So if you go backwards, Genesis 15, in Abraham was had a dream, right? And he was told that he was gonna his seed was gonna go into captivity in a strange land, in a land that's not theirs, right? Then you get to chapter 15, verse 18, it says, in the same day, the Lord made a covenant with Abraham. See, in the same day, the Lord made a covenant with Abraham. So he made a covenant with Abraham, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land from the river of Egypt into the great river Euphrates. And then the Kenites, the Kizzites, the Kodites, the Hittites, the Kirites, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites. So not only did he give them the land, but he gave them the people too. These very same people that Abraham bowed down to. So, like I was saying, when I saw that, I'm like, what's going on? So I went back and I, searched it out. So if you look at it in verse 18, Genesis 15:18, it says, in the same day the Lord made a covenant. See what I'm saying? So he made a covenant that day with Abraham. Abraham circumcised all the men in his house. We're going to read that in a minute. I'm just setting the stage. So he circumcised Isaac, and he circumcised Ishmael and all the men that was bought in his house and that was born in his house. And then in verse 18, the Lord of hosts made a covenant with him, a promise. He spoke it and said that he's going to give him the land. So Abraham, the land ain't his yet. So that's why Abraham is saying to them, I'm a stranger. He bowed down to them, showing them it's their land. So he hasn't performed it yet. He spoke it, but he hasn't performed it yet. Because that's what that threw me out. So what I did was I went back to walk that down. I went and I started, and then well, we got to go back further. I'm gonna go a little further. I'm in the book of Joshua, right? And I'm gonna start at because this has been told us. Most people don't know it. So you know, just like Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego was placed in the fiery furnace, long before that, Abraham was placed in the fiery furnace. So it says, yeah, so I'm going to start at, let me get it. So Abraham destroyed his father Terah. Terah was a second in command under Nimrod, which is not told us in the King James. He's the Lord of hosts, just like Nebuchadnezzar is the Lord of hosts for Nebuchadnezzar. Terah, Abraham's father, is the Lord of hosts for Nimrod, just like Michael is the Lord of hosts for Yahweh. So it says, I'm picking it up in chapter 11 of Jasher. Start at verse 41. Terah's anger was kindled against his son Abram, when he spoke this. And Terah said unto Abram, his son, in his anger, what is this that thou hast told? Thou speakest lies to me. And there is so what is going on is Abraham was angry because Terah was worshiping idols, and he destroyed him. So he says, Terah's anger was kindled against his son Abram when he spoke this. And Terah said to Abram his son in anger, what is this tale that thou hast told? Thou speakest lies to me. Is there in these God's spirits, souls, or power to do all that thou hast told me? And are they not wood and stone? And I have not myself made them. And I cannot thou speak such lies, saying that the Lord God that was with them smote them? Is it thou that didst place the hatchet in his hands, and then said he smote them all? And Abraham answered his father and said to him, and how canst thou then serve these idols in whom there is no power to do anything? Can these idols in which thou trustest deliver thee? Can they hear the prayers when you call upon them? Can they deliver thee from the hands of their enemies? Or will they fight thy battle for these against thine enemies? And thou shouldst serve wood and stone, which can neither speak nor hear. And now surely it is not good for thee nor for the sons of men that are connected with them to do these things. Are you so silly and so foolish, or so short of understanding, that you will serve wood and stone and do after this manner, and forget the Lord God, who have made heaven and earth, and who created you in the earth, and thereby bring a great evil upon your souls in the matter by serving stone and wood? So let's look at something right quick. It just dawned on me. I need to deal with this. So I was telling you about one of my precepts that I go to show you who the Lord of hosts is. There's not Yahweh, there's an angel. I want to go there right quick. This in Deuteronomy 32, based on what we just read. That Terah and all these other nations, they worship in idols that they created. So the Creator is talking in Deuteronomy 32, right? And he tells them, just one of the ways I was showing you, that you can see this is not Yahweh, but it's the Lord of hosts, the angel of the Lord. Verse 36, Deuteronomy 32 and 6, based on what I just read. For the Lord shall judge his people and repent himself of his servants. So why is what he got to judge them about? So when he sees that their power is gone and there's none shut up to left, and he shall say, it's the Lord of hosts, God of Israel, Michael, right? Where are thy gods? These gods right here, what he dealing with, what Abraham dealing with Terah about. Where are thy gods? They're rocking whom they trust. They're trusting in these gods made out of wood and stone. Then he says in 38, which did eat the fat of their sacrifices. That's what Abraham had done. Terah had his wife making meat offers and stuff for these gods, and they would take them in there and set them in there with them, but they don't ever eat them. And that's what Abraham trying to convince Terah. You know, he doing it in a backdoor way. He says, verse 38, which did eat the fat of their sacrifices and drink the wine of their drink offerings. They bringing all that in there to them. But these idols. Let them rise up. See? Let them rise up and help you and be your protection. Then 39, see now, even I am he, and there is no God, no L, lowercase g, with me. I kill, I make alive, I wound, and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hands. For I lift up my hands unto heaven, and I say I live forever. And if I with my glistening sword, so they go your evidence. So this is what he proclaiming. You got a lot of people that have come over to Deuteronomy 28 and read this, not understanding it, because like I said, the story of Abraham been tampered with, and you're not understanding how they got to that point. So let's go back over here where I was at. I'm in Jasher, and it says Jasher. Like I said, I'll be doing a lot of reading. Jasher chapter 11, and pick up where I was at, 45, and forgot the Lord God, who made heaven and earth, and who created you in the earth, and thereby bringing great evil upon your souls in the matter by serving stone and wood. Did not our fathers in the days of old sin? Look at this. Did not our fathers? So this is sin. This is what brought the flood. Did not our fathers in the days of old sin in this matter? And the Lord God of the universe brought the waters of the flood upon them and destroyed the whole earth. So you see that? The Lord God of the universe. You got a Lord of hosts in Babylon. You got Amalek had a Lord God, right? Nimrod had a Lord God, but this the Lord host of the universe. Okay, so he said, did not our fathers in those days of old seen in this matter? The Lord God of the universe brought the waters. Michael brought the waters. It only makes sense. That's him moving on the waters in Genesis chapter 2. So it says, the Lord God of the universe brought the waters of the flood upon them and destroyed the whole earth. See that? So what was the flood? It was a judgment for sin. Who overseen? It's only fitting and proper that it was him that brought the waters. 47. And how can you continue to do this and serve gods of wood and stone who cannot hear or speak or deliver you from oppression, thereby bringing down the anger of God of the universe upon you? Now therefore, my Father, refrain from this and bring not evil upon thy soul and the soul of thy household. And Abraham hastened and sprang from before his father and took the hatchet from his father's largest idol, which Abraham broke it and ran away. And Terah, seeing all that Abraham had done, hastened to go from his house, and he went to the king, and he came before Nimrod and stood before him, and he bowed down to the king, and the king said, what doest thou want? So before I move on, I want you to look at the ramifications of this. Verse 47 says, how can you continue to do this, right? And serve gods of wood and stone. That's what we had. They didn't throw us in a pickle. So we worship an idol. Most of it, majority of us, we worship an idol. And look what he says, thereby bringing down the anger of God of the universe upon you. Now therefore, my Father, refrain from this and bring no evil upon thy soul and the souls of thy household. This is what they done to us when they gave us JC. These ramifications of serving an idol. So anyway, verse 50. And Terah, seeing all that Abraham had done, hastened to go from his house And he went to the king, and I read that, 51, and he said, I beseech thee, my Lord, to hear me. Now, 50 years back, a child was born to me, and thus has he done to my gods, and thus has he spoken. And now thereby, my Lord and King, send for me that send for him that he may come before thee and judge him according to the law, that we may be delivered from his evil. And the king sent 3 men. Check it out. Get your Hebrew ears perked up. 52. And the king sent 3 men of his servants, and they went and brought Abraham before the king, and Nimrod and all his princes and his servants were that day sitting before him, and Terah sat also before them. And the king said unto Abraham, what is this that thou hast done to thy father and to his gods? And Abraham answered the king in the words that he spoke to his father. And he said, the Lord God that was with them in the house did to them what thou hast heard. And the king said to Abraham, had they power to speak and to eat and to do as thou hast said? And Abraham answered the king, saying, and if there be no power in them, why doest thou serve them and cause thy sons of men to err through thy folly? Doest thou imagine that they can deliver thee, or anything small or great that should serve them? And why wilt thou not? Why wilt thou, since the gods of the whole universe, who created thee, and whose power it is to kill and keep alive? We just read that. He just told you he the one kill and keep alive, make alive and wound. He do all that. 56. O foolish, simple, and ignorant king, woe unto thee forever. I thought that thou wouldst teach thy servants the upright way, but thou hast not done this, but hast filled the whole earth with thy sins and the sins of the people who have followed thy ways. So what we're looking at right here, this Nimrod, right? And Abraham was a little Hebrew boy, a young Hebrew boy. So he's getting ready to reprove Nimrod. This ain't in the King James. So he says in 58, doest thou not know, or hast thou not heard, that this evil which thou doest, our ancestors, this is before the flood, seeing therein in the days of old, an eternal God brought the waters of the flood upon them and destroyed them all, and also destroyed the whole earth on their account. Idol worship. That's what brought the flood. It only makes sense they turn right around after that and bring JC. Okay? And will thou and thy people rise up now and do like unto this work, in order to bring down the anger of the Lord God of the universe, and to bring evil upon thee and thy whole earth, and the whole earth. Okay, 59. Now therefore put away this evil deed which thou doest, and serve the God of the universe, as thy soul is in thy hands. Then it will be well with thee. And if thy wicked heart will not hearken to my words, to cause thee to forsake thy evil ways and to serve the eternal God, then wilt thou die in shame in the latter days, thou and thy people and all who are connected to thee, hearing thy words or walking in thy evil ways. And when Abraham had ceased speaking before the king and the princes, Abraham lifted up his eyes to heaven, and he said, the Lord seeth all wicked, and he will judge them. See that? They go the Lord host characteristics right there. That's what his whole role is. So anytime you see judgment, it ain't Yahweh. He says, at 61, when Abraham had ceased from speaking before the king and the princes, Abraham lifted up his eyes to heaven, and he said, the Lord seeth all the wicked, and he will judge them. Talking about the Lord of hosts. He didn't want to do the judge. Be in heaven. He on the right hand side of the Creator. So because of that, like I said, Nimrod got reproved by Abraham. They don't tell you that in the King James. So because of that, we're going to pick it up in verse 12, chapter 12. And when the king heard the words of Abraham, because Abraham was talking to him with a strong voice, and king heard the words of Abraham, he ordered him to be put into prison. And Abraham was 10 days in prison. And at the end of those days, the king ordered that all the king, princes, governors of different provinces, and sages should come before him. And they sat before him, and Abraham was still in the house of confinement. And the king said to the princes and the sages, have you heard what Abraham, son of Terah, has done to his father? Thus has he done to him, and I order him to be brought before me. And thus has he spoken. His heart did not misguide. His heart did not misgive him, neither did he stir in my presence. And behold, now he is confined in prison. So Moses wasn't afraid of him. Moses wasn't thrown off in his words. He brought it back. He reproved him in sternness. He ain't stumbled nothing. He gave it to him. So that's why Nimrod ticked off. It says, and therefore decide what judgment is due to this man who reviled the king, who spoke and did all the things that you have heard. And they all answered the king, saying, the man who reviled the king, this is where they got JC from right here. And they answered the king, saying, the man who reviled the king should be hanged upon a tree. But having done all the things that he said, and having despised our gods, he must therefore be burned to death. For this is the law in this matter. And if it please the king to do this, let him order his servants to kindle a fire both night and day in the brick furnace, and then we shall cast this man into it. And the king did so, and he commanded his servants that they should prepare a fire for 3 days and 3 nights in the king's furnace, that is in Chesedon. And the king ordered them to take Abraham from the prison and bring him out to be burned. So like I said before, the average person don't know this. So this ain't been revealed all. They gave you a rough draft of the life of Abraham in the King James. So Abraham, long before Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego was put in the fiery furnace, Abraham was. And so I wanted to read that to give you what happened to Abraham before he got in, before Genesis 15. So now I want to pick it up in Genesis 15. Okay. And like I said, Abraham, the Most High told Abraham, he made a covenant with Abraham in Genesis 18. He didn't give him the land in Genesis 18. And that's major. So let's look at it. I'm in Genesis, okay. Genesis, okay, let me get it. Yeah, so we're going to pick it up in chapter 15. It says, and the Lord promised to Abraham, after these things, let me get my other Bible. Dang, here we go. Page messed up. Genesis 15. Genesis 15, verse 1. It says, after these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, fear not, Abram, I am thy shield, and thy exceedingly great reward. Right? And Abraham said, Lord God, what will thou give me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of thy house is the Eliezer of Damascus. And Abraham said, behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. So what we dealing with right here is I read Genesis 18 and Abraham and what happened. Abraham got circumcised. He circumcised Ishmael. He circumcised Isaac, and he circumcised all the men. Those, he had giants with him, Nephilim that was with him. He had them circumcised, and the men that was brought in his household, and all the maid servants and that was given to him by Amalek. But like I said before, we don't know the story before that. Get to Genesis 18. This is the reason why what happened in Genesis 18 happened, because right here Abraham made a petition to the Lord and said that he didn't have no seed, because when he met Sarah was barren. Everybody in the land knew Sarah was barren. Sarah couldn't have no kids. When he married her, she was barren. So he says right here in verse 2, Abraham said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless? Sarah can't have no kids. And the steward of my house is Eliezer of Damascus. And Abraham said, behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and no one born in my house is my heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, this shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thy own bowels shall be thine heir. So Abraham we're gonna walk the dog on this. The Lord of hosts and Abraham. Ain't nobody else there. The Lord of hosts and Abraham just is talking, and he told him, no, this is the Lord of hosts, the Lord of hosts of the universe. He just told him, no, this man Eliezer of Damascus ain't gonna be your heir. He's speaking it. That's why he keeps saying, I spoke it, I performed it, and now it came to pass. So we saw over there, he spoke, he made a covenant with Abraham, but it ain't came to pass yet. But anyway, he says, behold, the words of the Lord came unto him, saying, this shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thy bowels shall be thine heir. So you can bank on that. 5. And he brought him forth abroad and said, look toward heaven and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, so shall thy seed be. And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness. See that? So he just told him that. He just spoke it to him, right? And then Abraham believed the Lord, and it was counted to him for righteousness. So they didn't put the nail in it. Okay, now we're gonna keep going. Now, and he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give thee this land to inherit it, right? And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know I shall inherit it? So you want to know, I was showing you he didn't receive it in verse 18. A covenant was made that he was gonna bring him to it. Like I said, little by little, he's gonna bring this covenant to pass. So he says in 8, he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know shall I inherit it? And he said unto him, take me a heifer 3 years old, and a she goat 3 years old, and a ram 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these and divided them in the midst. And he laid each piece one against another, but the birds he divided not. So let's look at this right here, because this is huge. So we wondering why we ain't getting no communication from the same God right here, God our forefathers. We ain't getting no communication from him. So he came to Abraham, right? And he told Abraham what he's going to do, but in order for to make this thing come to pass, Abraham got to set a bunch of things in motion. First of all, he got to sacrifice these clean animals. So let's look at that. So how in hell he gonna come to somebody now? We ain't got nothing to sacrifice. We don't have shit to sacrifice. So people in the uproar and all that saying that this, that, and another, he took all that away. So why would he, if he took that away, how you gonna come when you can't consummate it because you can't sacrifice these animals, you ain't got them. But anyway, 10, and he took unto him all these and divided them in the midst and laid each piece against another, but the birds he divided not. And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abraham drove them away. And when the sun was going down, deep sleep fell upon Abraham, and lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abraham, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation, we're going to come back to that, and also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. So see right here, this your plumb line. We know who's here talking because he said also that nation whom they shall serve, I will judge. It ain't but one judge. Lord of hosts. Say, I will judge. And afterwards shall they come out with great substance, and thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the fourth generation it shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, here we go. This is how he consummates what the Most High said. And it came to pass when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a furnace and a burning lamp that passed between the pieces. That's the Lord of hosts. We know he has the ability to take on different shapes and forms. He lit on the bush with Moses as a fire. Right here, he's a furnace. He's a fire right here, but it's a furnace, and he passing through the pieces to consummate everything that he just told Abraham. Now, we're going to pick it up in 18, verse 18. In the same day, after he made these sacrifices, and the Most High told him, Lord of hosts told him all he's going to do, then in the same day, the Lord made a covenant with Abraham, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land from the river Egypt unto the great river Euphrates. Not only did he give him the land, all these giants, Nephilim, 19 through 21, gave him them too. So the plumb line and the stage is being said is that Abraham told the Most High he don't have no seed. That's what we're working toward. When you're reading this, that's what you have to understand. He don't have no seed. He just told him, I don't have no seed. Sarah is barren. When you gave it to me, she was barren. Okay, so let's pick it up. Now, like I said, over here in verse 5 and 6, he says he brought him forth. The Lord host brought him forth and said, look now toward heaven and tell the stars if thou art able. He talking to the Lord host. And if y'all are able to number them, and he said unto him, so shall thy seed be. Okay, and he believed. Abraham believed. He believed in the Lord, and he counted it to be righteousness. Now we're going to be back over here in 16. Now, Sarah. Here comes Sarah. Abraham's wife bore him no children, right? And she had a handmaiden, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. Most over here, he ain't mentioned nothing about no Hagar. He didn't say shit about Hagar when Abraham and him was together, right? So now it says 2. And Sarah said unto Abraham, behold, now the Lord have restrained me. Sarah talking. The Lord have restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children. You see that? It may be. This ain't got nothing to do with the conversation what the Lord of hosts just had with Abraham. It says, it may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abraham hearkened. See that? That's where he went wrong. Abraham hearkened to the voice of Sarah. Sarah, Abraham's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abraham had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband, Abraham, to be his wife. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that, check it out. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. And Sarah said unto Abraham, my wrong. See that? I didn't write it. My wrong be what wrong? Oh yeah, verse 2. Sarah said unto Abraham, behold now, the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go into my maid. That's what she was wrong. My wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid unto thy bosom. And when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. And the Lord judged. I go to judge again. The Lord as the Lord of hosts. The Lord judged between me and thee. And Abraham said unto Sarah, behold, thy maid is in thy hands. Do to her as thou pleasest thee. And when Sarah dealt harshly with her, she fled from her face. So let's look at that. So the story took a turn, right? From where Abraham and Sarah first started talking. Abraham and the Lord talked, and he already told him what he's going to do, right? So now it took a turn, and because of that, the kid is born, and not only that, Hagar got a problem with Sarah. But notice in verse 6, Abraham said unto Sarah, behold, my maid is in thy hands. But Abraham, being who he is, turned back right around and he said, thy maid is in thy hands. Sarah tried to give her to him, but he turned back around and told her, no, thy maid is in your hands. Do to her as it pleases thee. And when Sarah dealt harshly with her, she fled from her face. Okay, so now the drama started, right? Verse 7, and the angel of the Lord found her by the fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain of the way of Shur, right? So I want to shine a light on something right quick because I'm multitasking. So I showed you how they said they want to hang a man on the tree. One of the punishments they suggested with Abraham was hang a man on a tree. This is where the story of Jesus being built at. Now here go another part of it. It says, the angel of the Lord found her by the fountain of water in the wilderness. Go back to JC and the woman at the well. Okay, anyway, say, and the angel of the Lord found her by the fountain of water in the wilderness and by the fountain in the way of Shur, right? Okay, say, and he said, Hagar, Sarah maid, whence comest thou, and whither wilt thou go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress Sarah. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, return to thy mistress, and submit thyself under her hands. So the angel of the Lord is cleaning up the drama. What he doing? He taking it back to the conversation that that him and Abraham had. He cleaning it up because he gonna do what he said he gonna do. We're gonna see that in a minute. So the angel of the Lord said unto her, return to thy mistress and submit thyself under her hands. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, that it shall not be a number for a multitude. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and shall bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord have heard thy affliction, and he will be a wild man, and his hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of his brethren. So here we go right here. This is one of the revelations that I got while I was reading. And she called the name of the Lord. See that? She called the name of the Lord that spake unto her, this angel. Thou God seest me. See that? For she said, I have also I also here looked after him that seeth me. Okay? Let that front me. 14. Wherefore the well was called Bar Lumara, I can't say that word. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Beri. And Hagar bore Abraham a son, and Abraham called his son's name, which Hagar bore Ishmael. And Abraham was 80 and 6 years old, 86, when Hagar bore Ishmael to Abram. So now we're going to pick it up in 17. And when Abraham was 90 years old and 9, the Lord appeared unto Abraham and said unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be thou perfect. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and I will multiply thy seed exceedingly. And Abraham fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made thee, and I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and that's and thee, me and thee, and thy seed after thee in their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee, and to thy seed after thee. So this, I want to shine a light on this right quick. So this is what we throw it off at when it comes to, notice right here, his name is Abram up until this point. He changed his name, right? But look what that's pertaining to. It says, verse 2, and I will make a covenant between me and thee, and I will multiply thee exceedingly. So his name being changed because of the covenant that he got with him, and because of the seed lines he's gonna bring forth. So when you go back to every time these people come in contact with these angels, they're asking you their name. So the name, the power is in the name. So when you go back to Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and all of them, their name is what the power is that he gave them. So we see it right here. So he says, neither shall thy name, and see that? And that's all the Lord hosts telling them all through the scriptures, for his name's sake. His name is what gave Most High sold the power in him when he sold that power in him that no other angel have when he named it. Okay? So anyway, so he says, I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant, and to be a God unto thee and thy seed after thee. And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, in the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. So here you go right here. He says, I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger. So that's why he's telling them. That's why he's telling Ephron, the Hittite, that he's a stranger. That's why he's getting down and bound to them. That promise and the promise of that covenant ain't came to fruition yet. So 9, and God said unto Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant. Therefore thou and thy seeds after thee in their generations. That's the circumcision on flesh. This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and thee and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised. So like I said before, you praying and whatever else you're doing, if you ain't done this, it's Mark's next. So he says, and ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant between me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every male man child in your generation, and he that is born in that house, or bought with money of a stranger, which is not of thy seed. He that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with money, must need be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for everlasting covenant. So you got a household, you got 5 sons, you got all them circumcised, but you got some maid servants, they ain't circumcised. You're in a pickle. So like I said before, this is how he hid his face from us. We looking at when he said he hid his face, we looking at the wrong concept, how he hid his face. This is how he hid his face. We don't have no animals. We can if he come and give you some kind of revelation, you can't justify it. You can't sacrifice no damn animals, and then you ain't in a position to make sure everybody that you dealing with is circumcised. This is how he turned his face right here. So 13, and the uncircumcised man child. Look at this. The uncircumcised man child whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant. So I don't give a damn who it is. It can be Ricky or Rodney or Prince of Wales or whoever it is. If he ain't circumcised, he cut off. Let's stand right now today. August 13th, 12th, 2023. Okay? So, verse 15. And God said unto Abraham, as for Sarah, thy wife, here we go. Remember, when Abraham met her, she was barren. Abraham prayed. He said he ain't got no seed. That's what all this about. And God said unto Abraham, as for Sarah, now he going to the problem. As for Sarah, thou shalt not call her name Sarah, but Sarah shall her name be. So see, this is where the power coming in there. It's the name, Sarah. And I will bless her and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed. Here we go. I want you to check this out too. Remember this. Abraham, and then Abraham, there wasn't no one accord in the beginning because she came and imposed on him the fact that she believed that God gonna give her or Abraham a son through Hagar. So they wasn't on one accord. But I want you to check this out. It says, then Abraham fell on his face and laughed. Remember that, and said unto his heart, shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old, and so shall Sarah that is 90 years old, bad. And Abraham said, remember what he told him in the beginning, right? And Abraham believed it, right? And Abraham said unto God, oh, that Ishmael might live before me, thee. And God said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name, there you go again, call his name Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him, right? And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and I will make him fruitful, and I will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he begot, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. See that? And he left off talking with him. Here we go. This is how you add all this up. These nut buckets. So it says, and he left off talking with him, and God went up from Abraham. See that? We know this ain't Yahweh, but he just went up. Where you think he went? You think he went to the World Trade Center? Okay. Anyway, 23. And Abraham took Ishmael, his son, and all that were born in his house, and all that were bought with money, every male among the men of Abraham. So as soon as he left, he doing what he told him. Abraham took Ishmael, his son, and all that was born in his house, and all that were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham, right? House, circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the self same day as God had said unto him. And Abraham was 90 years old and 9 when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, right? And Ishmael's son was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And the self same day was Abraham circumcised, and Ishmael's son, and all the men of his house, born in his house, and bought with money of the stranger, was circumcised with him. He did everything down to the tittle, with what the Lord host told him, right? Then so now we in 18. It started when Abraham said he don't have no seed. So now we in chapter 18. And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day, and he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men, right? That's what Nimrod sent to go get Abraham, to put him in the furnace with 3 men. So, and he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him, and when he saw them, he ran to meet them by the tent door, bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. So, like I said before, I walk the dog on this whole conversation to show you there's a lot of things in this. So this is why he ran to. His 3 men came, but he ran to a particular one. Which one is that? The one he's been talking to. That told him he's gonna make a covenant with him. There's 3 angels, but it's one he know. He's been dealing with up until this point. The one that he inquired of a son for, and that's why he back. He back to let him know that he gonna have a son. So, verse 3, and said, My Lord, if now I found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched. Check it out. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest under the tree. So here we go. We go to washing of the feet. This is another part of the puzzle in the New Testament. That's where the story being manifested right here. When these Edomites was reading this, they putting together the story, JC. So it says, let a little water, I pray thee, be fetched, and wash your feet. That's where the washing of the feet come from. And rest yourselves under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread and comfort ye your hearts. After that, ye shall pass on. These angels for therefore are you come to your servant. And they said, it's another thing they're reading over. All 3 of them, they said, so do as thou hast said. And Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah and said, make ready quickly 3 morsels of fine meal, kneaded, make cakes upon the heap. Abraham ran into the herd and fetched a calf, tender and good, and gave it unto the young men, and he hastened to dress it. And he took the butter and the milk and the calf which he had dressed, and he set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. So now, like I said, we in 2023, we've been reading these stories and we're seeing how they unfolded, and hoping one day to experience that, just to see the manifestation of the Lord of hosts, see the manifestation of these angels. Well, look what happened. Like I said, if they do show up, you got a herd, you got a calf to run out there and get and to feed them? Hell no. So verse 9, and here we go again. 9, they said, the 3 of them, they said unto him, check it out. They said unto him, where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, see that? This clown the other day talking about 2 of them angels and one of them is Yahweh. So he says, and he said, behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee, this is the Lord of hosts, according to the time of life. And lo, check it out. Lo, Sarah his wife shall have a son. Now here you go. Remember what Abraham did when he told him that? Abraham laughed. And Sarah heard it in the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be it ceased to be old and well stricken in age, and ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of a woman. Therefore Sarah laughed. See that? She did the exact same thing Abraham did. And Sarah laughed within herself, just like Abraham did. After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure in saying, my Lord, being old also. So she on one accord, she just like he doing the same thing he done. Said, and the Lord said unto Abraham, wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I assuredly bear a child, which I'm old? Is anything too hard for the Lord, that at the time appointed I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son? Then Sarah denied, saying, I laugh not, for she was afraid. See that? And he said, nay, but thou did laugh. See that? And the men rose up from thence, and they looked towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them. So look at this. This is another thing we read over. So he fed them. When they came, he met them. Then they ate. Now he walking them out the door. Check it out. It says, And the men rose up from thence, from the tree, and looked toward Sodom. That's where they're going. And Abraham went with them to bring them along the way. See the hospitality? We're looking all over that. See, and the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham this thing which I do? Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him. Look at this. I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord. What's the way of the Lord? Circumcising all the males in his household. Okay? That the Lord may bring upon Abraham. See that? This how you're gonna get it. That that he shall keep the way of the Lord. He told him what to do. Circumcised. I got a covenant with you. Make all the males in his household got to be circumcised. And if they ain't, they cut off. And so he says, for I know him, the Lord of hosts talking, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord and to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he has spoken. See that? He ain't brought it yet. So by Abraham's actions, doing what he told him to do, not letting nobody sidebar him. And when he do what he told him to do, that brings about what he has spoken, to bring it to pass. And the Lord said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which has come up unto me. And if not, I will know. So let's look at that. So it says 20. It's the Lord of hosts. We know for a fact, right, that this is the Lord of hosts. And the Lord said, check it out. The Lord said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because the sins is very grievous, he's overseen. 21. I will go down now to see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which has come up to me. The cry going up to him, not to Yahweh. Come up to me. And if not, I will know. So prayers, everything. That's where it's going. That's where your prayers going. Okay. Anyway, and the men turned their faces from thence, and they went toward Sodom, and Abraham stood before the Lord. And Abraham drew nigh and said, will thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Peradventure there'll be 50 men within the city. Will thou also destroy and not spare the place? Look at that. Let's look at it again. Peradventure there'll be 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou not destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? So let's go back. Go back to why we don't have no resemblance or no location where the city of Enoch was at. We know how wicked it was because it's explained to us in the book of Lamech how wicked it was. He destroyed it. What he did in Sodom and Gomorrah is examples. Atlantis. See that? You got to apply that. So it says, and the men turned their faces from 23. And Abraham drew nigh and said, will thou destroy the righteous with the wicked? Peradventure there'll be 50 righteous within the city. Will thou also destroy and not spare the place? Wickedness in that place. If ain't no righteous there, it's gonna get destroyed. That's why we ain't got no remnant of it. Pompeii, Atlantis, city of Enoch. What we getting right here in the book of Genesis is just an example. What he did in Sodom and Gomorrah. It was wicked ass cities before that. Okay, 25. That be far from thee to do after this manner, and to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous shall be as the wicked. That be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? There you go again. So shall not the judge of all the earth do right? Surely not, is he not going to judge it? You got fallen angels to set up a whole city in the city of Atlantis. You think is he going to turn the hill, turn his head away from that? No. He says, shall not the judge of the whole earth do right? Which means go judge it. And that's why we can't find these places. So anyway, they still looking for Sodom and Gomorrah today. It says, and the Lord said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place. They go again, place for their sake. And Abraham answered and said, behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, which am but dust and ashes. Peradventure there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous, without destroy all the city for lack of 5. And he said, we're going to come back to this in a minute. It says, without destroy all the city for lack of 5. And he said, if I find there 40 or 5, I will not destroy it. And he spake unto him yet again and said, peradventure there shall be 40 found there. He said, I will not do it for 40's sake. And he said unto him, oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Peradventure there be 30 be found there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord. Peradventure there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. And he said, oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet but this once. Peradventure 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for the 10's sake. And the Lord went in, and the Lord went his way as soon as he had left communion with Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. So what we get from that is the remnant in these last days. You can apply it to that. You don't need no whole bunch of folks. Okay? So anyway, chapter 19, it says, and there came 2 angels to Sodom, these same 2 angels that was with the Lord of hosts at evening, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom, and Lot seeing them rose up to meet them. Check it out now. And he bowed himself and his face toward the ground, and he said, behold, now, my Lord, turn in, I pray you into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet. They go to washing of the feet again. And ye shall rise up early and go on your way. And they said, nay, but we will abide in the streets all night. And here we go in verse 3. And he pressed them. Lot pressed these angels, and he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him, entered into his house. Look at this. And he made them a feast, just like Abraham did. He made a feast, and he did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. Okay, it says, but before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house around about, both old and young, as the people from every quarter. And they called unto Lot and said unto him, where are the men which came into thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. And Lot went out at the door unto them, and shut the door after him. And he said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold, now I have 2 daughters, which which have not known a man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do unto them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing. For therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. And they said, stand back. And they said again, this one fellow came in to sojourn, and he will need be judged. Now we will deal now will we deal worse with thee than with them. And they pressed sore upon the men, even Lot, and came near to break the door. But the men put forth their hand and pulled Lot into the house to them and shut the door. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. And the men said unto Lot, Hast thou here any besides the son-in-law? Check it out. And the son-in-law, and thy sons, and thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city, bring them out this day. So let's look at this chapter 19, verse 12. And the angels told Lot, the angel said to Lot, as thou here any besides thy son-in-laws. So it's two men there that's married to Lot, two daughters in the house. We reading over. See that? It's two son-in-laws. He said, is it anybody here besides your son-in-laws, thy two sons and thy daughters? And whatsoever thou hast in thy city, bring them out. So it's the son-in-laws there. He got two sons and he got two daughters. But 13, and we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxing great before the face of the Lord. And the Lord has sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spake unto his son-in-law. See that? He went out and spake unto his son-in-laws, which married his daughters, and said, Up, get ye out of the place, for the Lord will destroy the city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. So they didn't take heed. They didn't take heed right here. See that? That's a sign. That's one of your examples of what's gonna happen when you go down here. So, and when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife and thy two daughters which are here, lest thou consume in iniquity. See, so now ain't no more talk of the two sons and the two son-in-laws. Ain't no more talk of them. Because they said they mocked him. 16. And while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand and upon the hand of his wife and upon the hand of his two daughters. And the Lord being merciful unto him, and they brought him forth. And he set him without the city. Check this out. And it came to pass when they had brought them forth abroad that he said, Escape for thy life. Look not behind thee, neither stay thou in all the plains. So they put them down in the plains, not in the mountain. Say, explain. Then he tells them, Escape to the mountains, lest thou be consumed. And Lot said unto them, Oh, not so, my Lord. Behold now, thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast showed unto me in saving my life, and I cannot escape to the mountains, lest some evil take me and I die. Let's check it out. Behold, now, this city, remember what Abraham petitioned to him about, if it's one man or is it one righteous in the city or is it two righteous, whatever, will you say the city? So Lot says right here, behold now, this city is near to flee to. I don't have time to get to the mountains. And it is a little one, it's a little city. Oh, let me escape thither. Is it not a little one, and my soul shall live? And he said unto him, See, I have accepted this concerning this thing, and I will not overthrow the city for thee which thou hast spoken. So God is righteous. So Lot went to this little city and they spared. So anyway, as thee escape thither, for I cannot do anything till thou comest thither. Therefore, the name of the city was called Zoar. So if it's me and I'm reading this, I'm gonna remember the name of that city, because it's gonna come up again. And you, that's how you get revelations. Remember that. Zoar. Anyway, the sun was rising upon the earth when Lot entered Zoar. Okay, so then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone of fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the plains and all the inhabitants of the cities and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he had stood before, and he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plains. And behold, lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when God destroyed the cities of the plains, that God remembered Abraham, and he sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities of which Lot dwelled. And Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountains. So after that, he went to the mountains. And his two daughters with him, and he feared to dwell in Zoar, and he dwelt in the cave, he and his two daughters. And the firstborn said unto the younger, our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our fathers drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed for our father. And they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in, and they lay with her, and he lay with her, and he perceived not when she lay down and when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in and lie with him, that we may preserve seed for our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not. He perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. And the firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab. The same is the father of the Moabites unto this day. And the younger, she also bore a son and called his name Benina, whatever his name. Same is the father of the children of Ammon until this day. Okay, so that was Genesis chapter 19. So this is the crescendo right here. Like I said, it started out, Abraham made a request that he didn't have no son in his house, and Sarah was barren. So here we go. We're in chapter 20. Abraham journeyed from thence. This after Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. And the Lord that came to him, changed his name and all that, right? And Abraham journeyed from thence toward the south country and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur, and he sojourned in Gerar. And Abraham said unto Sarah, his wife, she is my sister. And Amalek, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. And God came to Amalek in a dream by night, and he said unto him, behold, thou art but a dead man, for the woman which thou have taken, she is a man's wife, right? And Amalek had not come nigh unto her. And he said, Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation? So go back to what Abraham, the petition Abraham asked him about any righteous man in the city. So Amalek is righteous. And the average person reads over this, but he says, would you slay? He said, would you slay a righteous nation? Then 5. And he said he not unto me, she is my sister. So he's saying they deceived me. I'm a righteous man. They deceived me. She said she is my. He told Abraham told Amalek, she my sister, and she herself said, he is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and the innocency of my hands, I have done this. So he said, only reason I took her, he told me I was his sister. And she attractive woman, and I wanted for myself. And he said it was his sister, so I took her. And then not only that, she told me that was her brother. So I took her. So verse 6, God said unto him in the dream, check it out. And this is what people not applying when they trying to deal with the Lord of hosts. Yea, I know. This is what the Lord of hosts told him. Yea, I know that thou didst this in the integrity of thy heart. For I, Lord of hosts, also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore suffer I thee not to touch her. So he's saying that even though you weren't going to lie with her anyway, because I didn't cause you not, you ain't going to lie with her. I'm preventing you to lie with her. See that? So think about the day and all the goings on of the day. He's not being implemented in the situation. Okay? You just looking at it with your perception or in your eyes. You ain't not considering him in the picture. So now, therefore, restore the man his wife, for he is a prophet. Check it out. And he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. And if thou restore her not, know that thou shalt surely die, thou and all that are thine. So all that's in our house. That's what he's telling him. So therefore, Amalek rose up early in the morning, called all his servants, and told all these things in their ears, and the men were so afraid. See that? This is what happened when you consider the Lord of hosts. Like I said, he gonna fix the situation way more greater than what you could ever imagine you can do. So he says, therefore Amalek rose up early in the morning, called all his servants, and told all these things into in their ears, and the men were so afraid. See, they wasn't afraid at first, because they went and snatched Sarah. They wasn't afraid, but they're afraid now. 9. Then Amalek called Abraham and said unto him, what hast thou done unto us? And what have I offended thee, that thou hast brought on me and on my kingdom this great sin? Thou hast done deeds unto me that ought not be done. And Amalek said unto Abraham, check it out, what sawest thou that thou hast done this thing? And Abraham said, because I thought. So he goes, Abraham, I thought surely the fear of God is not in his place, and they will slay me for my wife. So Abraham assumed that these was wicked men, but we see Amalek wasn't wicked. Now, Abraham assumed he's wicked. Verse 12, yet indeed she is my sister. He cleaned it up. Now he says, yet indeed she is my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother. And she became my wife. Now he explained it to him. Then 13, and it came to pass when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said unto her, this is my kindness which thou shalt show unto me at every place whither thou shalt come. Say to me, he is my brother. So remember, let's go back when Sarah and Abraham first they got together. She assumed that in her own mind that God was giving Hagar to Abraham, and all the drama that came out of that. So now Abraham told her to lie, is what he told her, to lie and say that she was his brother, right? So Amalek being a righteous man, we're going to pick it up at 13. It came to pass when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said unto her, this is my kindness which thou shalt show unto me at every place where thou shalt come. Say unto me, he is my brother. Then he go. Amalek took sheep, right? He doing what the Lord told him, right? Just like Abraham did. Amalek took sheep, oxen, men servants, women servants, and gave them unto Abraham, and restored him Sarah his wife. And Amalek said, behold, my land is before thee, the well where it pleases thee. Now here you go. This is what people ain't overlooking. 16. Then Amalek turned to Sarah, and unto Sarah he said, behold, I have given thy brother, see that, 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, he is with thee. See, you approving of him, checking him. Behold, he is to thee a covering of the eyes unto all that are with thee, and with all others. Thus she was approved. Come on, let that turn make. Says, and then so Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Amalek and his wife and his maidservants, and they bore children. For the Lord had fast closed up all the wounds of the house of Amalek because of Sarah's Abraham's wife. So, like I said before, you got somebody that wronged you, did something wrong to you, and you gonna try to judge it on your own or try to make it right on your own. But like I said before, you can't. He closed up all the men in the women's houses that was around Amalek. He closed their womb up. You can't do that. Like I said, look what the pickle that the Egyptian was in. He came and brought the 10 plagues and then brought the Pharaoh out in the middle of the Red Sea and drowned him. You can't do that. So when somebody wrong you, he knows just how to do them. You go get you a freeze pop. He knows just how to do them. Come on. So then we get to 21. I'm not going to read all of 21, but I just want to, I'm going to read to the point where Abraham get approved. Approved, right? It says so the Lord visited Sarah as he had said. See that? He on point. We started way back in Genesis 14. We're in 21. He made the covenant and the promise way back, but now he's bringing it to pass. He says, and the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. See that? And Sarah conceived, bore Abraham a son in his old age, in the set time which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bore unto him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac, being 8 days old, as God had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born unto him. And Sarah said, God have made me to laugh. There we go again. So that all that hear will laugh with me. And she said, who would have said unto Abraham that Sarah should have given children of suck? For I have borne him a son in an old age. And the child grew and was weaned. And Abraham made a great feast. And the same day, the day that Isaac was weaned. Okay, so we see right here that he brought all that to pass. He walked the dog on it. So now I want to show you where he got where they went into the land, where they received the land. It wasn't in Genesis chapter 15 that he received the land. They strangers all the way up to this point. So let's look at it. So they went into, and this is how we know that this is applying, the 400 years is applying to Egypt. So he says, let's go, let me get it. I'm in the book of Joshua. So now it says, now after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass. See that? Here you go. It came to pass. What came to pass? The Lord spake unto Joshua, son of Nun, Moses, minister, saying, Moses, my servant indeed, now therefore arise. My Moses servant is dead, excuse me. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, thou and this people, unto the land which I do give to them, even to the children of Israel. This way it came to pass. During the time of Joshua. So what you talking about? We say, what are you talking about? When you go back to Genesis 15, he told them, you're gonna pass, you're gonna die, and then in the fourth generation, they're gonna go to a land that's not theirs, where they're a stranger that's in Egypt. And they're gonna afflict them for 400 years. They didn't fumble with them numbers anyway. So he said you're gonna afflict them for 400 years, then they're gonna come out. The time of the Amorites is not yet fulfilled. That's what Joshua and Moses did. Cut the Amorites off. The Amorites was sacrificing human sacrifices. Sacrificing children on the altar. When Moses and them came, Joshua and them came and cut that off. And they cut it off, and then they received the promise of the covenant that he gave to Abraham. They received the land, they got the land right here. And I want to shine a light on one more thing, then I'll open it up for some questions. So I'm gonna keep reading. It says in verse 2, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise and go over this Jordan, thou and all this people, unto the land. This is the land he gave the covenant with Abraham. He told him he was gonna possess it. He spoke it, and he performed it, then it came to pass. It says, which I do give them, even the children of Israel. Every place that the soles of your feet shall tread upon, that I have given unto you, as I said unto Moses. For the wilderness, from the wilderness and this Lebanon, even unto the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites. Here you go. That's what Abraham was talking to, where he got the cave from, the Hittites. and unto the great sea, toward the going down of the sun, shall be your coast. There shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life. As I was with Moses, so will I be with thee, and I will not fail thee nor forsake thee. So I want to shine a light on something right here. So the land, we see the process that he got this land. He said, as long as you're in the land, can't nobody come up on you and do anything to you. We ain't in the land. So anyway, 5. There shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life. As I was with Moses, so will I be with thee. I will not fail thee nor forsake thee. Be strong and be of good courage, for unto this people shall thou divide an inheritance of the land, which I swore unto your fathers. See that? Unto your fathers to give them. Only be thou strong and very courageous, thou mayest observe to do according to all the law, which Moses my servant commanded thee. Turn not from to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest prosper whatsoever thou goest. Now, here go the golden nugget right here. We saw last week, we was talking about how the book of the law, I did a little class on the book of the law, and that it was told that the king had to always have a book of the law with him at all times to read it, to keep him grounded. Well, look right here, verse 8. This is what he gave to Joshua. This is where it started. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, Joshua, but thou shalt meditate, see that, therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and thou shalt have good success. So as long as you got this book of the law with you, you're gonna prosper and you're gonna have good success. So guess what? That's the whole purpose of JC. Antiochus started it. He was destroying the book of the law. They annihilated the book of the law. Then they came with this bullshit that story with JC. But it started with Antiochus. He came to Jerusalem, ran his lights out, and destroyed the book of the law. The same book right here that he commanded that the king, because that's what Joshua is, that he had his book of the law with him at all times to keep the people grounded. This is the only way for them to prosper and be successful, is to deal with this book of the law. So guess what? The New Testament tells you the law was a schoolmaster that brought you to Christ. Come on, man. Anyway, I'll open up for some questions, comments. Anybody got anything? Any comments? Everybody good? Okay, let me.
Yes, sir.
Do this one. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So I was looking at that. I had the class the other night. We was talking about that, and I seen where Abraham had said that he was bound down to these Hittites and these sons of Heth, and he kept saying he was a stranger. So I got up and I went and I came and I searched that out. This what unfolded. Okay. Let me get this right here. Yeah. So okay. Nobody have no comments. I'm gonna see everybody at
A lot of good information, sir. Thank you.
okay. I see everybody at 6 o'clock for close out the Shabbat. Shalom.
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 Shalom, everyone.